Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be looking at the OPPO X8 Pro. So let's start with introducing who OPPO are. So OPPO were finally back in Europe after a 2-year break, I think it is, because they were in a lawsuit with Nokia, which has now been settled, which means they can launch their phones and tablets back into the UK and European marketplace. Now, for those of you who have no idea who OPPO are, they are a Chinese phone manufacturer, part of the same group as OnePlus, and they produce some excellent smartphones based on Android. We haven't seen any of their phones for a few years now, as I've just mentioned, but they have just launched the X8 Pro, which I have been trying out over the past week or so, and so far it is an excellent phone, just as my initial impression. So what I'm going to do in this video is go over and give you an overview of the phone and how my thoughts on it and the camera system, and why I think this is a phone you should seriously consider if you're looking for a powerful Android device. So as mentioned, the phone is brand new. It came out about a couple of weeks ago. They had a launch party in Indonesia, which in Bali, and they had, they showed off the camera system and everything like that, because it has got a headline Hasselblad camera system. So for those of you who don't know what Hasselblad is, they are a camera manufacturer, one of the best in the world. Some of their cameras cost upwards of £12,000. So this is a really good partnership for OPPO to go for, because they are partnering with someone who knows a lot about cameras. And we've seen this before with manufacturers going with Leica and other well-known optic companies like that, Carl Zeiss like with Sony. And we've seen some great results on these phones with these partnerships. So I was really excited to get my hands on this camera system, because I wanted to see how good it was. And so far, which we'll go over in this review, the camera system has lived up to expectations. So I've seen a lot of reviews on YouTube saying this is probably one of the best camera systems in the world, smartphone-wise, and so far I would probably have to agree. It is a really good camera system. So we'll get into the proper camera system review for it later on, but as initial impressions, as you can see, it is a big camera system on the back of this phone, so it is a really serious piece of kit. And it has given, it does give great results. So this phone comes, it starts at £1,049, and that is the only model you can get. So you can choose from either space black or pearl white. This is the pearl white one I went with, which I really like the finish on it. I think it feels really nice back on it. It's like a matte finish on the back, so it's not too slippy. The space black looked nice as well, but I always like the white phone, so I went with the white. And this comes with 16 gigabytes of RAM and 512 gigabytes of storage. So that's only one model. I think that's a really good idea by OPPO, because it simplifies the manufacturing process for them. It's not overcomplicating the launch of the phone. 512 gigabytes is a great middle ground storage, and it's really nice to see a phone priced at about £1,000 with 512 gig of storage, because if you look at the Pixel phones and Apple phones, to get 512 gigabytes, you're looking at a couple of £100 more than £1,000. So it's really nice to see a manufacturer lower their prices down to £1,000 for a phone like this powerful with this kind of RAM and hard drive. So let's get over and have a look at the design, the specification of this phone, and I'll talk you through what my thoughts are on it and how I've found it over the past week or so. Because I've had the phone a week, it's given me plenty of time to play around with it, take it out and about in the real world and use it and get the camera system and find out how performance-wise it is, and it's so far really good. So we've got a 6.78 inch screen. I don't know why I didn't make it 6.8 inch, but it is what it is. So 6.78 inch screen, which is called an infinite display. So what they've done, essentially, you probably can't see it on here, but I'll show you some other footage of it, is they've slightly curved the screen. So you've got, it looks like the screen is passing over at the infinity. It's like an infinity pool effect, and it looks nice. As you know, I'm not a fan of curved screen. I recently tested out the Motorola Edge 50 Ultra, and I did not like that curved screen whatsoever, because that was a really curved screen. This is just slightly curved, so I'm happy with this. It's fine. Like, it doesn't bother me too much. I don't really get the point in it. I think manufacturers have got a bit overexcited with bending flexible OLED panels and now decide to put it in everything. But I don't think it's really, a major consideration. It doesn't really add anything to the phone, but it's part of the design, so it does blend in nicely. You've got nice thin bezels, which all manufacturers like to go on about, and Apple is always going on about this. It's probably not as thin as the iPhone bezels, so it's not quite up to the iPhone standards, but it is a nice looking phone on the screen on the front wise. So the phone is nice and light. It weighs 215 grams. I've not had any problems with carrying this around in my pocket all day. It's really light. It feels lighter than about the same weight as the iPhone. I think it's not much. I've got an iPhone 16 Pro here, so as you can see the size difference, but it probably feels about the same since Apple moved to titanium. The stainless steel iPhones used to be absolute monsters, and weight-wise, I used to hate carrying those around. So this is now much better. So if you look at this compared to, say, an iPhone, it is probably a little bit thinner than the iPhone, which is nice because the thinness of it makes it feel just easier to use every day. So you can use it one-handed easier, I find, because of its thinness and lightness. So I like the design of the phone. I think it's really nice. It's the usual OLED affair with 120 hertz refresh rate. So it's a great screen. All these phones that I test in the studio so far have been fantastic screens. It's really hard these days to find a phone with a bad screen. Even if you're spending £100, you get phones with great OLED screens. So this is one of the best screens I've seen, though, and you can adjust the settings on it really easily by going into the Android settings. You can change the color tone, you can change the color mapping, and you can have all sorts of different things on it. And it looks really good to do that, and I like the ability to be able to do that and customize it, which you can't do with Apple. Pixel let you do it a bit, but this is really letting you do it more. And I've got an Honor phone here, which I'm reviewing, and I'll do a review on later on, that also lets you change that. And I think it's nice to be able to change the color scheme how you like it. So the screen is covered by the Corning Gorilla Glass 7i, which I think is a new type of glass that Corning have released. So I think most phones use, for those of you who don't know, they're a glass manufacturer, and they make the glass for a lot of smartphones. So they use, like the Pixel 9, for example, uses their Victus glass, and that's really strong. I had no problems when I was using that getting it scratched. I had that for 3 months and it didn't scratch or anything. So that, I'm assuming this is going to be just as strong. It's supposed to be super durable. It feels like it is. I put a screen protector on it because I get really, really worried about scratching my screens. I just hate having scratches on phone screens. So I just always put a protector on them, even though it spoils it a bit. I know, I agree, but I do. So you've also got peak HDR brightness on the screen of 4,500 nits. So to put that in perspective, the iPhone screen is 2,500 nits. So it's double nearly the brightness on the iPhone screen. And it is a really, really bright screen. So you're not going to have any problem seeing this in the daylight outside. And when I was using it, out and about in bright winter sunlight, it was absolutely fine. So I'll show you kind of how bright we go. Look. It's really, really bright screen on there. So you're going to have no problems with it whatsoever outside, or even on the brightest days. It's powered by MediaTek's new Dynasty 9400 CPU. So we don't want to get into too many technical details as normal, but this CPU is a brand new. Let's talk about MediaTek. So for those of you who don't know, MediaTek are the big players in the Android world, chip manufacturers. You've got Snapdragon and MediaTek. I think they're the two main ones. Snapdragon produce some of the chips for like the Motorola phones. I think Samsung use them, and various others. There's also some Samsung Exmor chips, but they're not as big as these two. So this is their latest CPU, and it's really powerful. So it easily stands up to the iPhone's A18 Pro. I've had no problems with this phone power-wise. It's great. It powers through games, editing, video. It's just, I've not been able to slow it down, and it doesn't overheat. It's because it's got a new vapor cooling system inside this, like all phones, but it seems to really work really well, and the OPPO and doesn't cool down at all. So performance-wise, it's really good. The phone has facial recognition and an optical fingerprint reader, which is fine. It doesn't work as well as the Pixel's ultrasonic. So the Pixel 9's ultrasonic reader is the best on the market, I think, at the moment. And then you've got Apple's Face ID, and then everyone else kind of in the background. So I think it's good, but it's not as good as Apple and Pixel's unlocking system. It kind of doesn't work as well in the dark and stuff like that. So just be wary of that if you're thinking about the phone. It's the unlocking system not quite as good as the mainstream brands. You've got 4 cameras altogether, so as you see on the back, so you've got this huge circle camera system on the back, which has got the Hasselblad logo in the middle, which is nice to have, and it feels really premium, looks great. I think that's the main selling point of the phone, is this camera system. So without further ado, let's get into the camera system and what that means for you. So this is the main reason I wanted to review this phone. So I saw that it has a Hasselblad camera system. I knew they were a really good camera manufacturer. I wanted to get hold of it to try the actual camera system. That's the main reason why I chose this phone to review, because I thought this has got to have an excellent camera system. Because I think the last Android phone I had with a really good camera system was the Pixel 9 Pro XL, and that was a stunning camera system. Watch my review. I'll link it down below. That gives great results, great images. It had a really good camera system, only beaten by the iPhone for video. So I think photographic-wise, quality, the Pixel was better than the iPhone. And the iPhone just can't be beaten for video at the moment. It seems to produce excellent video. But I'll show you some video footage on the OPPO, and it does have some great effects on it. So, for video, it does 4K 60, HDR, Dolby Vision. So the quality on it is really good. It's not a bad quality video phone. It's just, I think the iPhone still does it slightly better. So if you're looking for a purely video recording perspective phone, look at the iPhone. I think that's still the best option. So what do you get for your money then for £1,000? So you've got, as you mentioned, 4 cameras. So you've got they're all 50 megapixel sensors, and they've all got pretty wide, big sensors on them. So it's quite a nice. Got plenty of light gain there, so this is going to give you good results because that's what you want. You want the bigger sensors, and the bigger the sensor and bigger the lens. That's why on an SLR you get better quality photos because you get more light through the lens. And we've seen this on cheaper phones with smaller cameras. You can see it straight away. So they're all 50 megapixel. You get a wide lens, ultra wide, a 3 times optical telephoto, and a 6 times optical telephoto. So it's really nice to have 2 telephoto optical lenses on there, which you don't get with the iPhone. So the iPhone just has the standard ultra wide and new ultra wide this year, obviously, and the wide and the telephoto. So this has got more cameras on than the iPhone, and they perform better than the iPhone for photos. It just beats it hands down. There's no way. I'll show you the samples. It looks much better. There's plenty of options on the camera menu. So there's sort of high-res film mode, long exposure, night mode, all sorts of different features on it. It's got film mode on it, which gives you 2 back bars above it, and you can produce some really good-looking film shots. It does 4K 60 on the front camera and the back camera. It doesn't do 4K 120 like the iPhone, but most phones don't, so that's a very unique feature to the iPhone. So camera system wise, it is great. I've really enjoyed using this phone out and about, taking different pictures, and I've left my SLR at home and used the phone and got some great results. And it's really good for portraits. I've took some really good portrait shots with it. It's really good for most photography. It's just a really good, powerful phone on the camera system. And I've not really used a camera phone with this kind of power. So a lot of reviews have described it as an insanely powerful camera system, and it probably is for a phone. No, it's probably overkill for most people. But if you look at the price bracket, £1,000 for this kind of power on the camera system compared to the iPhone and the Pixel, it makes it look excellent value. So if you can get over the fact that you may not recognize the OPPO brand, it feels a really well-made phone, and it's got a really good warranty with it, and it's got lots of support, and OPPO are really helpful when I was dealing with them. It's good. I would highly recommend this phone for its cameras. So let's get on now and look at the performance and sort of the battery life of the phone. So as I mentioned, it's got MediaTek's top-of-the-range CPU in it. So the performance overall is fantastic. I've played a few games on it. They run smoothly. They download. I've never seen apps download so fast and load on a phone like this. So power-wise, you are not going to see this phone slow down for years. It is faster. It feels faster than the iPhone to me, but it may not be in benchmarks. But in everyday real-world use, it feels faster than the iPhone. I think it's partly because you can set the screen refresh rate to hold on 120 hertz, where you can't do that on the iPhone. So you may have seen some reviews out there saying that the iPhone's true refresh rate is about 90 hertz because it kind of toggles itself down. So this can actually hold itself at 120 hertz, which is quite useful. So in terms of its performance, I've never used a better performing phone. It's really quick, really fast, and it does everything you will ever throw at it for the next 5 years, probably. It's great. One thing they have put in this is called a silicon carbon battery. So most phones use a lithium-ion battery, which is what's in the iPhone and a few other phones that I've got had in the studio, like the Pixel, and we all know lithium batteries get too hot, they overheat, they can explode, and they're not as safe. So silicon carbon was invented, I think Tesla started using them in their cars, and Chinese phone manufacturers decided to start putting them in phones because basically you can have more power inside a smaller form factor battery. So inside this thin chassis, you've got a really powerful 5,500 milliamp battery. It doesn't get as hot, holds more power, and lasts longer. So it's a win-win. So I don't know why phone manufacturers like Apple haven't moved to this kind of technology, because to me it seems like a great idea. There's also, I've got an Honor phone here, which has a silicon carbon battery, and that performance-wise, it performs the same. Like, you get great battery life, no overheating issues. It charges really quickly. To me, it seems like that's the way forward technology with batteries. So please, let's get Pixel and Apple to put those kind of batteries in these phones because they're better. The OPPO phone charges at 80 watts, so it's a really fast charging phone. If you look at an iPhone, that's 20 watts charging. So it's on the Pixel, 35 watts charge, or 37 watts, I think it was. So I don't know why Pixel and iPhone can't put faster charging in their phones. It really does wind me up a bit when you've got manufacturers doing 80 watts, Motorola doing 150 watts. Please, Apple, please, Motorola, give us faster charging. I mean, I can tell the difference. I plugged this in, and I plugged this in next to the iPhone, and it was just night and day difference in terms of charging. So yeah, now we all run out of battery all the time on our phones, so it's nice to have the ability to be able to charge it up and quickly when you need it. 5G performance is one thing I noticed on this was a lot better than my iPhone. It's got MediaTek's new 5G modem in it as well, which is part of the CPU package, and it holds signal really well. Like downstairs in my house, I normally get 1 bar on my iPhone of 5G. I get 5 bars on this, and I get probably about 20 or 30 megabits download speed faster. So I don't know what they've done with the 5G modem in it, but it seems a lot better than the iPhone's modem. So that was one thing I noticed straight away using it in the house. It's also got Wi-Fi 7, so it's future-proofed. I don't have a Wi-Fi 7 system in the house. I don't think anyone does. Some people might have got the new EE system. So if you have, then you can use that, and it's ultra-fast Wi-Fi 7 speed. So this phone is really well equipped. This is just my initial review, initial thoughts. I've only had it a week, so I'm going to get my hands on the new OPPO Watch coming out, which has got a sapphire crystal display that'll pair well with the phone. I'm going to use them more in the real world, give you some more feedback on it. But so far, this camera system is the selling point of the phone. If you are looking for a phone with an Android phone with the best camera system on the market, this is it. There is not a camera system that is better than this. The Pixel one is great as well, but this just beats it hands down. It gives you some stunning looking SLR-like images, and the processing on the phone is really fast as well, and it takes high res. I just think that I can't say this enough. This is one of the most powerful camera systems I've used on a phone. So the only downside, I think, to this OPPO phone is maybe some people might not like the operating system. So it runs Android 15, but it runs it on their own version of it. So I think it's called Color OS or Magic OS. I think Color's on the Honor one. I can't remember which way around it is, but it runs their own version of the operating system. So they basically put their own bloatware on it. So it's got their own store on it, their own apps. And we all don't like manufacturers doing this because it fills the phone full of rubbish. So please, manufacturers, stop. Just give us a cut down version of Android like Pixels. It's much better. But yes, that is the only downside of this phone. But so apart from that, it's a great phone. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please subscribe to the channel for more phone reviews coming soon. And I've got the Honor Magic 6 coming soon review on that one, and a few others in the pipeline with some manufacturers I've recently partnered with. So thank you for watching, and please subscribe if you've enjoyed this.